As mentioned earlier, in Module 4, we will look at the National Reading Panel's findings in terms of vocabulary learning and instruction, and vocabulary's relationship to reading achievement. Please recall, as teachers, we have the responsibility of helping our students be independent readers. We want them to recognize words automatically and smoothly to be fluent. But we also want them to have strategies for figuring out the meanings of unfamiliar words that are not in their reading vocabularies. This module will provide an overview of vocabulary instruction. It begins with the why vocabulary learning is important, and then moves to the what of vocabulary instruction, including some techniques for teaching important word concepts and word learning strategies, as well as some best practices for assessing vocabulary learning. To begin, it's important to understand that research documents the close relationship between vocabulary knowledge and reading achievement. Children who gain in vocabulary development get richer because of their expanding reading skills. The Matthew effect describes this phenomena of how capable readers get richer by reading more. Less capable readers read less and show fewer word learning strategies for figuring out unknown words. Alas, the gap between the more and the less capable readers widens with time. It is our responsibility as teachers to work to try and decrease that gap. But what are the best ways to do this? Well, research documents that the best ways to do this increase a student's vocabulary is through wide reading of various types of text, from fiction to nonfiction to poetry to comic books to baseball cards to whatever. Self-selected text choices are important. As teachers, we can aid our students by offering varied text through read-alouds of different genres. Our students' word awareness, as we will discuss shortly, is an important concept to elaborate or extend as we provide our students opportunities to explore new and unique types of texts. But what are the best practices for how to make sure our students' learning is deep and not just surface? The answer to this question is the use of teaching techniques that foster an understanding of or a focus on word relationships. That is key. For example, some easy to implement techniques for relating words to other words or other ideas to another idea include a word posting, a word map, the dramatization of words or ideas, word sorts, and word chains or a word continuum. A word poster is a drawing or an illustration of an idea with the word and its use or explanation written in a sentence. A word map is a visual diagram showing attributes of the word through the answering of questions. What is it? What is it like? And what are some examples of it? Dramatizing words is the student's use of hand and body movements to visually show a word's meaning or ideas. Word sorts utilize categorization or sorting as a way to describe or explain a word's meaning or big idea in relationship to its attributes or other idea attributes. Word chains or word lines are visual representations of a word's meaning in terms of its nuances or shades of meaning. Each point of reference helps to relate words to each other within the chain or the continuum. Tompkins uses 3 big ideas as a means of showing the how to vocabulary instruction. She says that some key words are needed for a foundational awareness of how words relate. She also says that teachers must provide experiences for students to explore materials and words and play with word meanings in order to see those relationships. But perhaps most importantly, we as teachers must teach our students word learning strategies, or plans of what to do when confronted with an unfamiliar word. So let's begin with the teaching of specific word concepts or word relationships. These word concepts include synonyms, antonyms, homonyms, idioms, similes, and metaphors. They may also include helping our students understand the etymology of where words or labels for ideas originate. Synonyms, or the similar meanings of words, antonyms, or the opposite meanings of words, and homographs, words spelled the same but pronounced differently, and homophones, words pronounced the same but with different spellings, paint a clearer picture of how words relate to each other. The complexity of word relationships increase with homographic homophones, or words with multiple meanings, like pitch the ball, or pitch a tent, or the pitch of a roof, and the pitch in music. The relationship of idioms in the English language and the understanding of similes and metaphors can be quite challenging for readers, especially English language learners. Seeing how word meanings are used metaphorically in the English language is a vocabulary concept teachers must teach to students, as well as help them to understand how knowing roots like ortho means straight will aid in their making meaning of words like orthographics or orthopedics and orthography. This foundational knowledge becomes applicable when searching for and applying context clues. As mentioned, teachers must provide vocabulary instruction that fosters a reader's interest in words. Knowing words impacts reading achievement, so the more exploration a child can have with words and songs and poems and riddles, and using various types of metaphorical comparisons, the greater the child's background in applying that vocabulary knowledge to print encountered. This is why figurative language teaching, metaphors, similes, and idioms are identified as learning outcomes in the ELA standards. While students must gain an awareness in how words work and how they relate to each other to construct a deeper meaning of text, a most important aspect of vocabulary instruction is teachers helping students know what to do when they encounter an unfamiliar word. Word learning strategies are critical. So critical, in fact, that the Kansas ELA standards identify them as learning outcomes. Look at grade 4, for example, language and reading for informational text, and you will notice that the outcome is that students clarify the meaning of unknown words by using different types of word learning strategies. These strategies of using context clues, the word structure, or use of affixes, and the how to consult and use a reference material are essential word learning strategies. So, let's look at a couple of these word learning strategies, specifically context clues and the use of the word's structure. As teachers, we often tell our students to use the context clues in reading a text, but seldom do we tell our readers what these clues look like. So let's take a few minutes to explain that. First of all, a clue to the meaning of a word might be stated right in the text as a definition. Instructing a child to look for the definition is important. It's accessible information. But there is not always a stated definition. So telling our readers to look for appositives or examples that describe the unfamiliar word is a next best plan. It will be important for our students to use that knowledge as synonyms and antonyms, as sometimes the clue to a word's meaning is stated as a synonym or an antonym. We instruct our students in this modeling of how to find the clues by thinking aloud as we read. That is the best way to teach the how to find a context clue. For more information on these various types of context clues, please refer to your handout number 9. Another valuable clue to figuring out a word's meaning is by using its word structure, like its inclusion of prefixes or suffixes, and by thinking of its base word origin. Knowing those morphemes that we discussed in an earlier module will facilitate a child's meaning making. Just as in this example, to know un or its meaning of not helps the reader to figure out that unhappy means not happy. Teaching affixes is important vocabulary instruction. Now, oftentimes, vocabulary learning is assessed via multiple choice or matching exercises. Those types of assessments do not ask the reader to show his or her relational word thinking. So using assessments like a cloze or a maze are better. Published inventories are possible and valuable tools, but teacher-made products can be just as effective. Let me explain more. A cloze is just a passage with words missing. Those words can be specific to the vocabulary or the topic under study, and specific to the comprehension of a specific text. As you can see, in a closed passage, there are no choices for a reader to use as clues to the word's identification. Exact matches must be shown for mastery. A maze, on the other hand, does offer choices. It allows the reader clues to the word. You may see maze passages on your screeners, like the Ames Web or Dibbles. Readers are given a maze passage and asked to read orally and show comprehension while reading and choosing the word that makes sense in the passage. Does that sound familiar? Please know that other formative assessments for vocabulary learning may be effective assessment tools as well. The key idea for assessing vocabulary learning is to require the reader to make meaning by searching for the deeper relationships among words as he or she comprehends. Doing so will help the reader apply vocabulary learning to impact his or her comprehension of text and ultimately his or her reading achievement. To study more about the specifics of academic vocabulary learning, please read and complete the exercise in handout number 11.